Joe, how far away was Vice President Biden from Donald Trump during that debate? I'm worried about the debate. I mean, they had family members in the audience not wearing masks, and the two men were shouting at each other, or Trump was shouting a lot, and Chris Wallace was shouting a lot. How far away? I know they were trying, it was Cleveland Clinic, and they were working very hard to make it a safe event, but you got to wonder at this point, people coming in and out of there, how they got in, how safe these men are at this point.
Yeah, and obviously both of these men are in their mid-70s. I wanted to go to Pulitzer Prize-winning historian John Meacham. I'm going to hold off on that for 1 second to try to get a good answer on your question, Mika, because again, there was a distance between the two presidential candidates.
Yeah.
I'm hoping if I were putting on a debate, I would make sure there would be great ventilation like you have on a lot of commercial airliners to make sure that the ventilation was moving air through there in a way that was safe for both President Trump and Vice President Biden. My concern from and obviously the Cleveland Clinic, one of the premier medical institutions on the planet, obviously were consulted, which brings me to the next question. Before we get to John, I want to bring Dr. Gupta and Dr. Dave back in. But Dr. Gupta, I begin with you. My biggest concern about this debate are the reports that we heard from Jonathan Lemire, the AP's Jonathan Lemire, that there were members who were traveling with Hope Hicks on a helicopter and then on Air Force One, who, when they were sitting in the audience, were not wearing masks, even though they were required to wear masks. Yeah. And I believe Jonathan Lemire said were even asked after sitting down without masks to put those masks on. That would be people sitting inside in a contained area for over 90 minutes without masks. Talk about the medical consequences, the possible medical consequences of that, and the risk factor for all those sitting around them.
There's the video.
Dr. Gupta?
Joe, you bet. Vitally important here is what you just mentioned. No amount of ventilation is good enough in an indoor setting to mitigate risk of transmission. And what we do know is that the risk of transmission, because we know COVID-19 is likely an airborne transmitted disease in part, it doesn't matter if you're 20 feet away or 30 feet away, you're still going to get exposed to those aerosolized particles, particularly given the way, for example, the president was behaving and talking. And as for the audience members, the fact that many in the Trump family were not wearing masks just necessitates they must undergo a 14-day quarantine. They cannot assume a test, particularly with the rapid test they have at the White House, is sufficient because of its high false negative rates. And even if they get a negative lab-based test, they still need the 14-day policy. The chances of an indoor transmission event is 19 times higher than if the debate had occurred outside. So the fact that this occurred inside this is why understanding the series of events here, if Hope Hicks was symptomatic Wednesday morning, she was likely pre-symptomatic and infected Tuesday night, meaning she could have been infectious then to those around her. She could have been transmitting the disease. So was the president exposed? And does that mean that the vice president was now exposed as well? And potentially it could be causing a cascading event. It's vital that everybody is quarantined and tested.
And Dr. Dave, I ask you the same questions as we see images of the Trump family sitting inside after being exposed to somebody who may well have had COVID. How dangerous is this for them and for those around them?
Inside with air conditioning, you have to think about the direction of the airflow in addition to just being in a closed indoor space. We don't know in that conference room at the Cleveland Clinic which way the air was blowing. It wasn't filtered air. It was not an operating room where you blow filtered air in the direction that you want it to mitigate the risk of infection. It was an open conference room with ceilings and walls and air conditioning that was either blowing past the president or toward him, or past the family members in the audience or toward them. So everybody in that room is at risk, 19 times higher risk, as Dr. Gupta pointed out. So there is no single person who took part in that debate that should not self-quarantine per CDC guideline, get tested, and plan for the worst while perhaps hoping for the best, Joe.
And again, yeah, hoping for the best. And as you said, in your situation, even though you're over 60, for you, your symptoms were mild. Let's certainly hope for everybody that's on that list, if they have COVID, their symptoms also are mild.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.